Hey guys, welcome into today's episode, how to know when it's time to change careers. It's actually a great topic and I'm stoked to jump in. Scott, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up, guys? Stoked for today's episode. I think it's going to be super fun and insightful, and it'll take me down a path of memory lane. So,
Yeah, totally. And guys, before we jump in, I just want to let you know that we are running a free workshop. It's May 18th. It's how to build unstoppable confidence. The link for the registration is in the show notes below. So you can click that and join for free. So jumping into today's episode, Scott, you've been through a pretty good amount of like career changes in your life. And I think this is a good question to just start off with is how did you know when it was approaching? Like what were the signals there?
sure, Mike. So, before we even get into that, I've shifted from running my own contracting business that I built up for 4 years into getting into digital marketing and really mastering that craft, and then shifting into business operations, and then realizing that none of it was in alignment with my purpose and what I actually wanted to do with my life. At which time I started my pivot into mindset coaching and building Peak Prosper. And all of these shifts started to transform for me, first internally and then externally. I think that it's important to look at both the emotional and the logical side of career transformation and kind of unpack each of those. So, Mike, let's talk first a little bit about some of the internal transformations that start to occur or signals that start to come up indicating that now might be the time for change. And I know that you've been through some transformations yourself and you'll have some tremendous insight to add to this as well. But for me, through all of the professional transformations that I've experienced, there's first this internal change. I start to feel anxious about my work. In the worst cases, I've actually slipped into what felt like a daily depression because I wasn't excited to get up and go to work and do the things that I had to do each day. I felt like I was just going through the motions. Work was really boring. I felt kind of like a robot, and like the work that I was doing just didn't really matter. I mean, maybe it mattered to the operation of the organization, but for me, at an intrinsic level, not extrinsically speaking, but internally, I just felt like the work that I was doing didn't matter at all to me. Does some of that resonate with you, Mike, and some of the transformations that you've been through?
Yeah, it does because I remember, wow, it's so crazy, Scott, to think back 2 years ago to this of like walking down the stairs. Like I remember going into the back door of the restaurant. It was so robotic. Like every day was so robotic. It was Groundhog Day all over again. And I remember walking down those stairs with dread.
Mm.
Like just me thinking about it right now is like, oh my God, I can't believe that I was in that place 2 years ago. And I don't mean in the restaurant, right? I mean internally in that headspace. And just like I remember punching in my passcode to check in for the payroll to say I was here. And I just remember the feeling of anxiety being like, what am I doing here? Mike, what are you doing? So yeah, I mean, those feelings were, and then the feeling of like euphoria of finishing a shift and like going home and looking
Yeah, I'm
forward to like
done.
smoking weed. You know what I mean? Like, dude, to be honest with you, that was my life. I looked forward to smoking weed. And that's if the quality of your life, if the excitement of your life is looking forward to smoking weed or drinking a beer because your everyday life is that mundane and boring and painful, something is really wrong.
I completely agree. And I mean, for many people, I don't know what the statistic is, but if we go look at Deloitte and some of these professional studies, over 80% of our workforce is not fulfilled in the work that they're doing on a
That's
day-to-day
a
basis.
tragedy.
It's a
It's a tragedy.
tragedy, especially when we're spending 40, 50, 60 hours per week wasted away. I'm not even going to call it an investment of our time into doing something that we despise. I think that most heart attacks actually occur Monday morning when people have to get up, put on their,
God.
well, less suits and ties these days because people are working more remote, but they're logging in to do work that they don't really want to do. So I think this kind of transitions us to looking at some of these external signals now that are indications that it's time for change. We talked a little bit about the internal emotional stuff, but when I talk about external triggers or external things that we're starting to see, these are us realizing that we're not tapping into our full professional potential, realizing that we've hit a glass ceiling and that our ability to grow either vertically or laterally in the business that we're running or the organization that we're working within has hit that glass ceiling. And having that burning desire to not just earn more money, but have a greater impact on the world is something that's starting to bubble up for us on a day-to-day basis. And something that always crept up for me every single time that I'd go through one of these professional transformations was some kind of an idea would first be the ceiling of a thought that I would start to just kind of obsess about on a day-to-day basis. And I remember one of my jobs, actually, I'd go to work every single day and I had this notepad next to my keyboard at my desk, and I would just doodle ideas in there of businesses I could start. I doodle logos and business names and all kinds of things. And I think peak marketing was actually one of the things in the notebook that got doodled in there with some mountain peaks, oddly enough. But when we start to spend so much time obsessing over some other idea outside of where we currently are, this is a great indication that change should happen sooner than later. And the last one that I'd like to share is something called clock watching. My dad always said, Scott, if you find yourself watching the clock, not just wanting for the day to be over, looking at, is today over yet? Kind of some of what you shared, Mike, just not wanting to be where you are. You should sprint, not walk, for the quitting line and invest your energy into figuring out what is next. So those are some of the external indicators that now is a good time for change.
Yeah. But why don't people change? Right? This is such a great question. I can't wait to actually unpack this one. Why don't people change? Because I can tell you why I didn't change when I stayed in that restaurant 1 year too long. 1 year too long, even though all the intrinsic, extrinsic signals were there. I mean, my life was like, if I look back to it 2 years ago, I'm thinking to myself, dude, why would you put yourself through this? And that's a great question. You're right, Mike. Why would anyone put themselves through that? So, Scott, all the signals are there. Why don't people change?
Well, I believe that complacency kills dreams before they have an opportunity to ever take flight. And as humans, we get stuck in a routine. We get stuck on that hamster wheel that you alluded to, clocking into the same clock, doing the same things that we know how to do every day because of the illusion that that cycle is bringing safety to our lives. And we also get stuck in the trap of fear. You could call it low confidence, not having the confidence to actually change. But if you go a level deeper, that low confidence is actually fueled by fear. The fear that if I go take a leap and transform my career, I'm going to fail. The fear that I'm not going to have the financial means necessary to support my livelihood. The fear that other people are going to judge me for giving up on what I built for the last 2, 4, 10 years, whatever it might have been, and transforming into something else. So I'd love to hear a little bit from you, Mike, and what kept you staying in that job for what felt like at least 1 year too long.
I would say that what kept me stuck in that job too long is the same thing that keeps all humans living in their current reality, is that it's the programming ultimately. Like And the second thing is understanding consequence. Like I could sit there and complain and moan about, oh, how crappy the serving job was and toxic environment and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't really understand the effect that it was actually having on my life until I remember the moment when I talked to my friend Morgan on the phone, when she literally woke me up out of the dream, because she just shared with me her own personal story of transformation, right? And how she started meditating. And then I was like, wait, what's this meditation stuff? And that kind of got me down the rabbit hole of understanding the mind. And then I was like, whoa, I'm not my thoughts. Whoa, what? And I remember the moment when I looked at myself in the mirror, when it really hit me, my current time reality of crappy health, crappy job. I'm not making any money. I think that I'm making money, but I'm not actually saving any money. I'm not moving towards my life of freedom. I'm actually in a self-created prison. And I realized I was inside of a prison. And that's when I knew that, all right, at least that I know that I'm in a prison, that I can break out of it. And when I really, really saw how I was the manifester of my entire reality, I was like, okay, if I can manifest this, then I can definitely manifest the opposite. So it was really understanding that first, because Scott, people aren't going to change until something's painful enough for them, right? Or if they have wisdom, they're like, they can foresee the future pain. And then they're like, all right, well, I don't want to experience the future pain, so I'll just change now. Once I saw that, and then I said, okay, well, what's actually stopping me from change? It was my programming, and meaning the programming of the things that I believed to be true about myself. Oh, I'm not worth this amount of money. And maybe I'll fail as an entrepreneur. 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs fail. How am I going to start my own business? I don't know what this and that and the other thing is. I don't even understand my purpose. These are all just corrupted beliefs and programming that was just creating confusion and anxiety and overwhelm for me. So this is why I just went all down the rabbit hole of personal growth, because I knew ultimately my problem wasn't the business idea or what is the path that I should take, et cetera. I knew that if I could figure myself out, right? If I could understand who I am at a core level, what do I really want out of life? Why do I want it? Then I'm going to be able to manifest it, because man only hits what he aims at in life, right? Mm-hmm. And when I was in that restaurant job, I was only hitting what I was aiming at. Oh, I just want to make enough money to pay the bills, and I just want to work short hours, and I just want to like ski in the afternoons. And I was getting that. I was getting exact, oh yeah, it's cool, man. I'll just live in a share house. And I was getting everything that I believed to be true. But when I changed and upgraded my beliefs to, no, actually I want to run my own business, and I don't know what that looks like, but I want to have one. I want to be making double the amount of money that I want to make now. I want to be living and traveling all over the world. Then I started to move towards that reality. So these are the fundamental things. I mean, these really are. You have to realize the consequences of the life that you're living in right now. And I think that's a powerful motivator. Scott, was it the same for you? I mean, when you were at some of your last gigs before you started Peak, was there that moment for you of like, dude, I gotta get out of this?
Mike, I think you said one powerful and profound thing that shouldn't be overlooked. And I've only really ever changed anything in my life when the pain of my present circumstances was heavier than my perceived pain of change. So I lived in this perception that changing something was painful, uncomfortable, miserable, that breaking through that fear wall was going to be this gargantuous feat. But only when the job or the injury or whatever it may have been or may be in my life at different chapters becomes more painful than the perception of investing the time and the energy and the resources into creating a transformation, did I make a change. So that last year that you spent in the restaurant job was really you just building up your pain bubble until the balloon popped and you just had to change.
Yeah. I think the balloon popping was getting TMJ, that jaw disorder from grinding your teeth in your sleep at night from stress. Yeah. And I remember my PT guy, Brian Prax. My God, if Brian's listening to this, I love you, bro. This guy's like a savage mountain climber, PT dude in Jackson Hole, but a legend. And he was like, yeah, dude, like you're super stressed out. And I remember just being like, all right, like what am I doing? So Scott, like if someone's listening to this podcast and they're really resonating with it, what's a simple exercise that they can go do right now to just start manifesting that making a change towards what they ultimately want?
Well, I can only share with you what's worked for me, period.
And our clients.
And our clients.
Yeah.
Um,
Just wanted to throw that one in there.
but in this specific case, you're starting to experience some of the internal and external battles that one goes through when career transformation is knocking on the door. I would begin with a simple piece of paper and draw a line down the middle of it. And on one side, just start brain dumping all of the negative thoughts and painful thoughts and negative and painful experiences associated with your current career, business, or profession that you feel stuck in. And then on the other side, I would write down all of the perceived negative thoughts that you have associated with changing and transforming into this new world, this new profession that you have an internal desire to transform into. And I think that by going through this simple assessment of your perceived negatives of where you're currently at and the fear that's keeping you stuck from making a change, you'll realize that the pain you're experiencing in the present is far greater than your perceived gap between where you are and making the changes necessary to get to where you want to be. So I would start there. And from that foundation, you can start to create a vision for what your future profession might look like and put together a simple plan of action to turn that into a reality. Now, I know these exercises done alone just aren't as powerful as having someone to talk to kind of talk through this process. And if you have a mentor or a friend or a trusted advisor, or you don't, then I would reach out to us at Peak Prosper. You can schedule a call to connect with Mike or myself one-on-one. If you just visit peakprosper.com at the bottom of the webpage, would be stoked.
Scott, I'll include the link in the show notes.
Stuff. Awesome. Yeah, please put a link in the notes. Yeah. And just a couple of other things I'd love to share with everybody here. We have a free mini course to help you transform your career, to help you build more clarity around your future. I would definitely check that out. That will be linked to in the show notes as well. And I think Mike might have a few last comments as we kind of wrap up today's episode.
Yeah, that's it. I think you nailed it, Scott. If you want someone to talk to, look, guys, we've been through this. We've been through the career change multiple times, and we know how to change in such a way that we can help you change to something that's actually fun, energizing, fulfilling, aligned with your ultimate purpose in life. If you want to talk to us one-on-one for free, I'm going to put the link in the show notes. And that's it. We've got the 3-part mini course too, if you want to check that out. So we've just taken our methodology and we've distilled it into 3-part course for you for free, actionable steps in there for you to take. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. There's also a link into the Unstoppable Confidence Workshop. We just want to make sure that we're giving you guys resources. And if you got a ton of value out of today's episode, make sure to review us on Apple Podcasts. We'll be stoked to hear your feedback, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.